How we do anything in this life, it's how we do everything. And everything in this life, this lived experience, is about frequency. And what we mean by frequency is the subtle perception and vibration, resonance of light of your consciousness, of the one field of consciousness, and how you are resonating with and in and as that field. The human life is so much more multidimensionally than what we imagine and what we have been living. The curious and most profound thing is that we have been in, all of us, in lifetime initiations that have been preparing us actually for this time. That we have been in a great research project about what it is to be human and how hard it can be in this human realm, with the incredible possibility of mastering the dance of multidimensional consciousness. Because it is only when we master the dance of multidimensional consciousness that we can free ourselves from the assignment that we have come here to fulfill, let's say, for the whole, right? So everything that feels hard in the human life and the ways that we can be veiled in the human life through the intense emotionality and the sense of this is hard. You know, the sense that this is hard, this is challenging, is actually the frequency instruction that is inviting us to grow multidimensionally. It's pushing up against seeming edges, and it's actually an inner recognition that we are not operating at our full capacity, right? So if we feel like this is hard, we feel stressed, we feel frustrated, we feel confused. Within the realm of the mind, there's a learned idea within limited consciousness to try to fix and change that. But as we open multidimensionally, we realize that what we're actually exploring is the evolutionary edge of consciousness. And we are the evolutionary edge of the expansion of human consciousness. But simultaneously, as multidimensional beings, we're not limited by human consciousness. The limitation of human consciousness is the illusion of some kind of division and separation, which is not actually the reality. So we are here to master the mind, and the way that the mind can keep us held in a belief of limitation and a belief that we're trapped in the human realm. And let's say the idea, the belief of the human consciousness and the human realm, that we're somehow trapped, divided, limited by this, when this is not, nor has ever been the truth. So of course, as these words come, the transmission is an activation of the field of your consciousness, the intelligence that you're made of, what you are multidimensionally. And so as you receive the sharing, it is activating what is known in you, in your heart, in your consciousness. So it's this opening and allowing always of what stirs us, what enlivens us, what triggers us, what brings energy. That energy is life force. It's life force that is wanting to move optimally and somehow is needing to find its direction, right? And sometimes the energy, like a trigger or a charge or an anxiety or a stress, is coming forward to be held, included, and dissolved in the multidimensional field. But there's also energies that come for us that feel like we're touching the edges of expansion. You know that feeling of being kind of mind blown? Like you're getting something and yet your mind can't catch up and can't understand. But there's somewhere, some kind of dimensional realization or recognition, a cognizing of something beyond where you have stepped, understood, or reached, or opened to before, right? This is what we're speaking of. We're speaking of a field of infinite possibility and wildly alive pure potentiality, which is the wellspring of life, that we are coming, as we open to this frequency of the unified field, we're opening to be enlivened and nourished more and more deeply from the wellspring of life, the wellspring of light frequency, resonant vibration, right? And we, let's say, our nervous systems are being recalibrated and upgraded. Our consciousness is being refined so that we have the capacity to receive revelation multidimensionally and not just through this way of that we've learned of the mind understanding and contextualizing and kind of settling into a context that feels comfortable. We're opening to realms that we don't have language for necessarily, and we don't need language for. There are frequencies of intelligence that of course don't need language. That language itself can limit the frequencies, the refinedness of intelligence. Right? So that's where the receiving at the frequency transmission is where the shifting and changing, where the recalibrations and upgrades are actually happening. Nothing is happening to the me, nothing is happening in the way that the mind understands experientially. And so then we speak that it's all about the frequency. So how do we be in life? We don't do being. We be the frequency of that we are living at, of our consciousness, and that becomes how everything happens in the life. Where are we broadcasting from? Right? Where are we broadcasting from? Where are we creating from? Everything in this field, in essence, is the same one undivided reality. The one, the unified field. And we can give that many names. But again, ultimately, it's all about the frequency. And that we are softening out of all of the ways that we divide and separate to open to more of the fullness of the multidimensionality of being, and recognizing that all that we live through and have lived through, and let's include that into a multi-lifetime trajectory, is here now. Whatever is still here now. It's not about the past. It's not about understanding and putting anything into like an attachment or association with time. It's all about what's here now. Even any sense of memory, true memory, is only ever about what is here now, in this moment. Because when we untangle everything from the mental constraints of attachment to past and memory being in time, we free the timeline at the level of entanglement, and we bring like the raw material, the residue, right here to this moment, because it's here in this moment, right? So we allow whatever's here in this moment to be free of any need to contextualize. And when what is here in this moment is free of context, attached to past, attached to memory, it has the possibility of being fully transmuted and releasing the attachment to karmic resonance. Now, we have been entangled in karmic resonance as a playground of learning about this human life, not for us to kind of go down in flames of misery, but for us to gather wisdom, to experience, right? So relate this to your lived experience, to notice how what you've had to live through, so-called had to live through, comes to the point where it serves you, and you find that either it informs the way that you work or what has become your job, right? It's all intelligence informing itself. Or you find that what you've lived through has been some kind of initiation, that now you can help others in those same areas, right? So we see that there's an efficiency, that nothing is wasted in this life. And this sense of being initiated through the seeming challenges of life is exactly how the intelligence is efficiently working. The intelligence as the human, the consciousness of the human, is working actually to evolve itself, right? It's working to evolve itself through, of course, the lived experience of the human life, but multidimensionally, when we realize that there's so much going on and we've never been bound by what we are living through. We're not bound by trauma. We're not bound by the karmic entanglements, the karmic obscurations. And we actually have the possibility in this life, as we open to the unbounded field of consciousness, to access the intelligence to kind of put it all together multidimensionally, what this life is all about. To kind of put it all together that frees us from entanglement with misery, division, separation, limitation, and to realize that what we have been living through that maybe has felt hard or challenging is actually the initiatory learning that the intelligence is absolutely using wisely for our evolution and the evolution of human consciousness. So it's never about the particulars and the small details, and it's never about fixing or changing or getting fixated in the story of me, right? We can see, we can feel how to get fixated in the story of me lends itself to a looping of the karma, that frequency of the victim, that frequency of getting stuck in the pain body. And that actually, when we really open to realize that everything that is happening is somehow a grace that is wisely, intelligently happening to carry us deeper into the knowing of what we are, who we are, and the freedom in this lifetime. And if we really open to that, and we really open to the frequency of that, we open to the frequency of true love, that where everything is included, and where there is no punishing God, that there is just benevolence and kindness and the most extraordinary unconditional love that is guiding everything, holding us, and in fact, the substance, the essence of what everything is made out of, right? So again, just as these words are coming, just resting and receiving, and just notice what is coming online, what is being activated, what is being noticed in your heart, right? Just to receive, not trying to make sense of, not trying to contextualize. There's absolutely no question that every being that is here in order to receive the fullness of the initiation of what human life is, in order to come to freedom, but also in order to be a vehicle, an expression, on some level, an emanation of light, an emanation of love, an emissary of light, to bring the wisdom of the intelligence of what you are and the unique flavor that the divine can move through you as to the surface of life. So when we realize that actually we're in divine boot camp, right? That human life is like a divine boot camp where we're being initiated and activated, and we're being deeply, deeply and profoundly guided by the intelligence. And it's about opening to receive that guidance, opening to receive the incredible support that is always here. And that when we are resting and when we are open, that we have this possibility of deeper and deeper, more refined activations of our multidimensionality. And in this, we find our belonging. We find out, like by joining the dots, like the puzzle pieces coming together, like what the fullness of this experience, this human realm, this earth realm, what it's really all about. And we could say in simple terms that what it's about is coming to be the love that we are, coming to be the multidimensional frequency of unconditional love. And in that love not being an emotion, but love being a frequency that is total openness, true unconditionality, where giving and receiving are one flow of abundant grace and life, where there's caring and sharing. And where we touch into this is because we know this, because it's what we are. It's a reality that we already know. We come from this. We're created out of this. So we know this. We know this reality. Sometimes this unfolding gets spoken about going home, that we're journeying home, right? That's enlivening some tenderness in the field, in the heart field, yeah, right. That you're coming home to yourself, that you're coming home to the truth of who you are, and it's not that who you are is not true. It's that it's just not the fullness. It's not the full picture, and so this unfolding. You know, everything that appears on the screen of life, everything that comes forward is coming forward. We are creating it. We're creating everything. Everything is here. The whole screen of life, the whole play of life, we're creating out of the frequency of our consciousness. And in that, as our frequency shifts, the creation, the appearance also shifts and has this incredible possibility of shifting beyond belief. Yes, beyond belief. And that's so important because this is not about what we believe. We realize that belief is part of the field of limitation, and it's belief itself that keeps us limited. Belief in limitation is a life lived in limitation. When we release believing in anything. We open to the unlimited. We let the light in. The fullness of the light can come rushing into every fiber, atom, and cell of our being, and our consciousness can be recalibrated in light. So, of course, what we're speaking of is what can be spoken of as awakening. But even the conversation around awakening or the longing for enlightenment is all just part of the dreamscape of actually longing to know just the fullness of yourself. That if we free this unraveling, this opening, this revelatory, multidimensional expansion from language, from systems, systemization, from practices and techniques, from bookish knowledge and second-hand knowledge and understanding, if we free it through our systems by receiving what inspires us, but distilling it through our system and not holding it at the level of belief, right? So we come back again, belief is limitation. As long as we're believing anything, it will limit our capacity as intelligence itself to open to the fullness of the capacity that we have. So when we receive the inspiration as guidance, as support, as way showing, and we realize that the divine, the great divine light field is showing us, and yes, it shows itself through books, and it shows itself through companionship, and it shows itself through challenging situations. It shows itself in everything. We're constantly being guided. And when we stop resisting the guidance and we start receiving the fullness of the guidance, but we retain an autonomy and we don't stop at the level of belief. We don't stop at the level of protection. We don't stop at the level of any kind of limitation, and we let what inspires us, ignites us, what stirs us, what triggers us, we let all of it be the realm of deep initiation, and we receive the activations that are being offered to us by grace, by an unconditionally loving, self-sustaining wholeness, right? There is no creator outside of divine wholeness, right? Divine wholeness, as we speak about, is a self-sustaining flow of life. It's self-sustaining. It's not created by something outside. It's self-sustaining. And it's self-sustaining as an integral wholeness because it continually collapses into itself in pure divine surrender. And it is in absolute, utter, complete devotion to itself. Love loves itself. It flows as devotion, right? So when we enter the current of the yes, of devotion for the sake of devotion, for love for the sake of love, not for the sake of what can I get out of this, my journey, my achievement, my ambition, my goal, my performance, right, in this lifetime. We don't attribute anything that's happening in this life to any kind of attainment for the me. We release all sense of attainment into the current, and we realize that the greatest attainment is to release attainment, right? Is to release the need to get anywhere. And we start to see more and more subtly how we can be tied into a sense of like a performance related spirituality. spiritual ambition, spiritual goals, what the me wants to achieve and how the me wants to be seen, and even just how the me wants to be free of suffering, or what the me thinks that it can achieve in this lifetime. And even as we're saying these words here, right, the hearts are laughing of like, how ridiculous, right? The intelligence sees, right? Because multidimensionally, we are the intelligence that sees the sometimes ridiculousness of our human minds and the ways that we hold things personally, and we smile, right? There's no judgment. There's no invigorating, enlivening of guilt and shame. Like you did something wrong, you naughty mind, you terrible, terrible thing. It's a smile of like, wow, how interesting, how fascinating, how we can feel like we're holding it in one way, and then boom, we open multidimensionally. You like open the back door, and suddenly you see it completely differently. And then you open all of the windows, and suddenly, wow, there's a totally different perspective of seeing. And you realize that you're not contained and you're not limited. And that what you actually have access to as a multidimensional being is so far beyond what the mind can fathom that you can't even explain it, understand it, give words to it, or even hold on to it. Where has it gone now? I want more of that. Sure you do. Just stop, rest, and say yes. Let it come to you, right? Let it come to you. How do we be in life without joining the frequency field of fear and division and separation? We just rest in the frequency of truth, of the deepest truth that our consciousness has attuned to, open to, and is able to cognize and flow in and as. We just be that. We be that as a frequency of love that includes everything and doesn't find any way to divide itself from the field of fear and division. We may see that, but the frequency of love says, and all that is me too, right? The knowing of love knowing itself and in absolute devotion to itself, surrenders itself as life, knowing itself in and as absolutely everything. And so there's no way for love to limit or divide. And so if we notice a sense of dividing or limiting, we recognize, well, here's a place. Here's a place to include. Here's a place to hold so tenderly. And the more subtle and refined the frequency of love, of openness that we are living at, the more natural capacity comes online. We can't make it happen. We can't push for it. We can just open to receive it, open to receive the recalibrations and the upgrades, right? To recognize that the most extraordinary guidance and support is always, always available. It's not about knowing anything. It's not about receiving information as guidance. It's about moving freely and recognizing that guidance comes right here in the now, in the free movement. It's not of time, right? It's not like, here's the download, now you take action. It's more intimate than that. It's the free-flowing movement of the divine just moving, life just living. And yes, sometimes it might feel like it comes in as a guidance or a pointing that just turns your head in a certain direction. Oh, right? And then a movement happens. There's no definitive way that the guidance, the grace, the support comes in, because it's actually coming in everything. Everything is offering an incredible possibility for evolution. Mm-hmm.